Well, welcome to another hot summer day in beautiful Arkansas. This is Tom Hunt. We are with the Arkansas HVACR Association, and as always, every month we're fortunate to have Chief Mechanical Inspector for the state, Mr. Tony Woodard, from over the Department of Labor and Licensing, HVACR program. And Tony, welcome, and I guess we're about ready to get started.
Let's roll.
We are going to be talking about protecting refrigerant lines today. Important stuff. Some of it we've covered in the past, but there have been some changes made since we started using the 2021 mechanical code. So we'll go over those issues that are very important, because if you don't do them, not only will you maybe have a problem in the future, you may also have a problem getting that inspection taken care of.
Okay, what you're referencing there is what the standard contractor sees and does when they're running their line sets through top plates or through walls or studying down through. They're thinking about the nail guard of the top plate. They're not thinking about when you're coming and you're trying to curve it up by the eave on especially a pitched house, not a gable end or a roof pitch. When you're running that line set and it starts turning and it hugs up against that decking, that's where we've had several been penetrated lately by the roofers. You know, going through, you've got to space that out and get that out away from that so it won't be penetrated by the nail. The ones I've seen lately were where they were doing pre-line sets for future use, a ductless mini splits, and like a lot of bonus rooms. We had several of them get hit lately.
Now that's got to be 16 gauge sheet plate too, doesn't it?
Yes, sir. It is. That's a nail guard. It's not duct pipe cut in several layers and screwed down. It's an actual nail guard.
Okay, here's an example of a drawing that came commentary section. Does that help any?
Yeah, and that's geared in your plumbing. Like when you're going in your, you start seeing a lot of your lavatories and your coppers run through the horizontal runs, and they're showing stud work and all that. But it's showing you your standard nail guard protection. Where we're running into the issue is where they're going up by the roof deck, is where the ones have been being penetrated.
All right, then we go to 1109.3.1. Very similar but different.
It is similar but different. This is one I want to get everybody's attention.
Very interesting, and I'm not sure how we're going to be able to live with this. Is this labeling? In fact, let's talk about the labeling, and then let's talk about how we're going to get the labeling.
Well, the labeling is really, we're going to leave it to the manufacturers on federal, and it's on the Armaflex side. They're wanting their criteria about their ASTM 84E. They're wanting to know that it's plenum rated, so it has to meet the smoke development flame spread, and they're wanting their insulation value on there. Of course, your ACR copper and all that's always been labeled your true ACR copper, not your rolled anneal copper. It's had labeling on it in the past anyway, but that's what they're looking for. They're wanting to make sure. We've had some line sets come in from some out of the country areas that didn't have the proper labeling on it. That's what they're looking for, that R value and that ASTM 84E stamped on it.
But I noticed here that if I'm reading this code right, it has to say on there if it's a A2, A3, B2, B3, it has to say danger, risk of fire or explosion.
Yes, and it's small print. It's in there, but it's small print.
And then if it's a group B, it also not just in lieu of, but also has to say danger, toxic refrigerant.
And we're using several blends that have a lot of propane in it now. Several blends that have that. So where they're running into that is they're using it at an existing system. So you're not really changing out the line set; it's already there. So we're kind of new construction. We'll kind of watch for this.
Well, it's just another one of those things that a contractor's got to pay attention to make sure that it's there, because if you get inspected, and you will be, if it doesn't say that danger, risk of fire or explosion, if it's a A2, A3, B2, B3, you're going to have to find some way to label it.
Yeah, and this is one of the ones we're going to work with the contractors, like you and I did. Went and reached out to distributors to try to let this thing police itself. Where when the contractor buys his product, it's already there, so he's not just a less headache he has to worry with.
Well, it makes sense. One of the things is that there's got to be some exchange of ideas between the contractor and the distributor to make sure that everybody knows that this is what's required, so that the distributor can tell their manufacturers, this is what we're looking for.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I do.
All right, here's some pictures of what you have been seeing in the field and why
Yes.
we need to do this.
Yeah, you can see that one to the far left up there. That was one that got penetrated. Actually, they hit the liquid line and the suction line. It was a change out. They tried to go, as you can see, they didn't go through the top plate. They shoved it down into the eave, dropping it down, which rested on the decking. The house was getting re-roofed. It was a remodel all the way around. It got penetrated. That was a case picture right there. Same thing in some of your vertical pictures showing. If you don't web that out, you can look in one of the pictures. I don't know if we can blow that up. You can see a 2x4 behind one, and then you can see the line set resting up on the decking. But it's the same principle. They've got the nail guards at the top plate, but they've got to have protection in that vertical run in that cavity as well.
Well, now that we're looking at that we're talking about this picture right here, we got the nail guard up here.
Right.
And the question becomes right down through here. Let's go back and look at that code again. Here it is. It says that you got to be located 1 1/2 inch from the edge of the
membrane, correct.
Yeah, so it extends out 2 inches beyond both sides of the tube. So that's got to be, if I understand that correctly, and come back to here. Whoops, I'm sorry.
You're going to get to where you're not going to put all your stuff, your drain line. It's not going to all cram in there together. You're going to start sliding it and having drain line set. You know, you're going to start moving it over.
So this would need to be 2 inches on either side. My goodness, that's a heck of
that's tough in a 3.5 inch wall, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, Lord have mercy. That's
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That, and I throw this out because I'm always concerned about, you just tell us what to do and we'll do it. Yeah. But the cost, we really need to know this in advance so that we can make sure we price in.
We see a lot of them.
Here or there. Next thing you know, you hadn't made any money if you didn't price it in.
Well, get some 2x4 blocks, block it. Just if you got 2 of them, one within 3 foot of the bottom and top, that'll hold that down far enough out and keep it in there.
Sir, I bet we have some folks that want to see the YouTube on this.
Yep.
Okay, what are we looking at here? Oh, this one on the right. That's the one I like.
Yes, that was also a case that they penetrated. Same thing, went into the eave, dropping it out of the eave down the side of the wall. And you can see where they were nailing all the new roof nails everywhere. Yeah. So, and they even used an old line set in this one. Took an old line set and used it, and it got hammered. You can see the one on the left where it came across at the top. Now that one I used for show. It's resting on the 2x4, so it's got its clearance out there. It's okay. It's not touching on the decking part. So
that one on the right, Tony, reminds me of a job I got into one time, and we weren't looking at stuff like that. And I looked at it and I thought, ooh, that's dangerous. And I looked at all the nails that had come down through the deck, and I was fortunate that we hadn't pierced something. So I said, we can't let this happen because you never know, something may move. And I got a piece of 3/4 inch plywood, and it's hard to shove a 3/4 inch plywood between that line set and nail it to the bottom of that rafter.
And it's hard for the contractor changing this out. It's tough too, because they have to have a location to run the line set. Yeah. And they have to work and use this. So you're just going to have to try to make best provisions they can, because they are going to run it over there. Just try to block it and protect it from getting hit by that nail.
Reason I mention that is because it's so much easier to put whatever you're going to use for protection right here before you run that line set and before they get all those nails in there. I can't tell you how many times I skint my knuckles trying to get that in there.
You're going to be laying on your belly there too, because it's flat, it's tight like that.
The last time we looked at this slide, we were saying that there was an exception. Now we're saying with the 2021 mechanical code, there is no exception.
There is no exception. There was mainly refrigeration rack type refrigerants that you were protecting. Now there is not. Because there's so much propane and so many different refrigerants we're using for the human occupancy, not just for refrigeration cooling now. It's all in the same game. So they want that protected right there. So if you're going to run exposed, and that's a very good picture, this is a requirement now. And we need to be, this will be part of the first training CEUs for contractors know to bid this on the front end.
And I want to throw this out, especially for our contractors who are doing a lot with low-income housing, because there's not much money to be made in that. And if they haven't calculated the cost of this cover, they could wind up not making any money at all. So guys, if you're doing any of that where the margins are thin, you got to make sure you realize you've got to have this cover now, regardless of whether it's 410A or if it's one of the propane-based refrigerants. Got to have it. Did I say that right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
All right. The code on that talks about, there are some exceptions about, if the pipe is 7 feet 3 inches above the floor, is located within 6 feet of the unit, or it's in the machinery room. Other than that, better get ready to put that cover on there, huh, Tony?
Yes, sir. Get it in. The consumer's going to wind up paying. So it's just always a consumer.
Would like to say that if you've got any questions or compliments or complaints, code related issues, this is our phone number.
That's right.
Okay. 501-682-9201.
Okay. The continuing education, if all the way back up at that slide, I can't move it. But
Let me go up there. I'll go back.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get all the way to that. Okay. Yes, so this requirement, and Tom is getting with his HVAC association, is going to hold these expos all over. We are going to have some for the fall for anybody's license that expires January, February, March, to get the CEUs available. But the majority of you that will not expire into 2023, you'll have the time frame to get them. We do have 2 vetted locations right now. Johnstone, which has 4 or 5 locations in reality, but 2 actual CEU providers that have been vetted, approved. There is a gentleman in Black Rock that has purchased the old elementary school, and he's going to hold 8 to noon classes up there in January, February, and also in the spring. I know there's more to come. I've spoke to some. So our game plan is to have a location within 30 miles of your travel distance if you want to show in person. Also, by January, we hope to have the online classes available for you to use. But the 2023, when your license expires in 2023, that's when you'll have to provide the 4 hours of continuing education. This year, you're still good from now through December, but we are going to do everything we can to get those going. We're looking October, November. Is that correct, Tom?
That's correct, sir. We've got classes starting for the association beginning October, running through the middle part of December. And we'll be sending out notices shortly. We're trying to make sure we have all of the speakers lined up and get them vetted and ready to go. That's going to be great. That's going to be an atmosphere of almost a mini convention. I'm really looking forward to that. But, the association is not the only one that's going to be providing continuing education. Correct. All these colleges are going to be offering it. All of the distributors are going to be offering multiple classes. And by the way, if you're a distributor online right now, if you do not know how to access the form that Tony's going to need to look at for you to get your class approved, Tony, can they go to the website, your website?
They can go to our website, labor.arkansas.gov, and find that, or email me direct, anthony.woodard@arkansas.gov, and I'll get it to you.
Tony, one of the things that I'll tell you an interesting story here is that this last week I was talking to a distributor who has an absolutely unparalleled trainer. I mean, he's got, there's a few really good trainers in the state, and he's definitely one of them. And it was almost like they were afraid that he wouldn't qualify. And I kept telling him, don't worry about it. The last thing in the world you want to worry about is whether your trainer is going to be okay. But trainers do need to be approved, and the curriculum needs to be approved. But, if you're a distributor out there and you've got a tech trainer, you're going to be qualified.
Yeah, you're going to be qualified.
So anyway, I just want you to know that you don't have to worry about this. Don't stress over the small stuff. The small stuff is you coming to get training. it's going to be a little more complicated for those of us that are offering training to get our act together to make sure we're online. We've got to present all this good stuff to Tony for the board to be able to look at and approve. But it'll be okay. It's just a no hill for a stepper, right, Tony?
Yeah, and a little chat come up. They wanted to know if these lunch and learns would be approved. It's kind of hard to do that. I think it came from Greg Trout because we're going to have a flag number to the lunch and learn, because when we go to the ELP, you're going to have to, everybody's going to eventually renew online, and you're going to plug that in, and it's a vetted number for the cycle, meaning when we're in a 3-year code cycle, that number's good. So that training can be available for 3 years. So the lunch and learns, it's an excellent platform. I'm very, very, very pleased that Tom built this, and very fortunate we have it. But it's continuing education, but it's not going to count towards the CEU, unfortunately.
You know, and I like that not being counted. And the reason for it is that we don't want to diminish the value of the continuing education.
Right.
We don't want it where somebody can tune in to the last 5 minutes and get the same credit that somebody else got from the very beginning. And by the way, Tony, I want to thank you and Lindsay and everybody over there. And I say this almost every month, and I guess people get tired of it. But I'm just so happy that we have the kind of communication and partnership between the association and between the Department of Labor and Licensing to try to educate folks. These things are brought to our industry free of charge, except for your time. And that's a lot. That's a sacrifice that you make to make it possible. But our next one, the second Monday of every month, whatever that is, you can just go ahead and put it on your calendar and say the second Monday of every month. And we thank you for your time. We hope you've enjoyed it. Until next month, thanks a lot. If there's anything we can do for you, be sure to contact us. Tony,
Thank you, Tom.
sir. Tell all your inspectors and Lindsay, we appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.